Hello my friends. I thought that I would just briefly explain to you why you will never die, contrary to popular belief. So the main reason people think we die is because they associate themselves with the matter that they're actually animating with their mind, and we are mind, not matter. So once you make that huge leap into realization, you can begin to see the scientific truth that no energy can be created or destroyed, only transmuted from one state to another. So like ice to water to steam, even though our bodies can be destroyed along with the elements, we were never those things anyway. We were never matter. And so we need to understand the first hermetic principle or natural law, which is that of mentalism. All is mind, the universe is mental. Life is not something we possess, it's something we participate in and we witness. So we are the observer, but we're also the observed. And once you make that separation from your physiological complex, you know that if you cut your finger off and watch it wither away with the elements, that you are not your finger. You know that if you cut off your arm, your hand, you would see quickly the same thing. So on and so forth. You could be a torso with a head, your heart beating, and your brain still in operation. And you would see that you were not your limbs at that point. But then let's take that further and say if you're a boxer and you get knocked out, we have to ask ourselves, well, what is consciousness? How can you see the world around you right now? We've got eyes, we've got a brain, there's light in the room, so on and so forth. But all of those things can be present, but if consciousness isn't present, then none of that really matters, does it? So a boxer could be lying on the floor, grounded from a uppercut, knocked out, had the lights knocked out of him. And you could prise his eye open, and even though he's got an eye to see, and he's got a brain to think, and he's got light to illuminate the area around him, still nothing happens. Why? Because he is mind, and the mind, the light, the life force, the prana, the chi has been knocked out of him, and we are that phenomena. So that phenomena itself is of course the universe, and this ties in with the first hermetic principle. All is mind, the universe is mental, the principle of mentalism. And this is the consciousness that conceives everything around us. When we look at the trees, we know that the tree is not made of wood, it is wood. We know that wood isn't made of atoms. It is atoms. We know that atoms are made of energy. It is energy. It is mind expressing itself in a multitude of ways. We have all these different species of plants and trees. We have all these different organisms like rooks and crows and dogs and cats and mongooses and beavers and all of the absurd creatures that we see out there, including ourselves. But of course, again, the human construct wants to separate everything, and we live in this separation state of consciousness that considers our consciousness to be located and housed solely within the cranium, when in fact the brain is only receiving that consciousness. Just how your hardware, your computer, doesn't conceive the internet, it receives the internet. So the intelligence is all around us. Your phone is picking up the Wi-Fi, which is all around you. The signal consciousness for ourselves, it's the same thing. What we're doing, just like they say in the Matrix, or the book that inspired the Matrix was Simulation and Simulacra. And it's all about technology being recreated by these archons, and they are simply trying to recreate the natural mechanisms. They have no creative capacity to actually conceive and create new ideas. They simply emulate and copy, just like that kid who's sitting next to you at school, right, stealing your homework and trying to recreate the mastery of the universe. And then of course they'll play God and say that that's their creation, but of course the joke's on them, because it could be anything but, especially if you watch The Matrix. But the point is that the soul is immortal, and this has typically, in times once past, been symbolized by the Christmas tree, the sprig of acacia. You know, the Freemasonic symbolism on, I think, the 2nd degree tracing board. Sprig of acacia over the coffin, symbolic of the fact that this individual has not died, but has transferred back to spirit, or to a higher realm, a more higher frequency that we can actually experience in our lives. And it's just in that 1/3 of our life that we call the sleep state. And if anyone out there has ever experienced a lucid dream, you'll know exactly what I mean, because it's 100% real, just as real as this experience you're having right now. And when you can start controlling those dreams, you can see that you're not asleep. You're actually in an elevated state of awareness that you forget when you wake up, and you get little snippets, fragments of those memories come back to you throughout the day perhaps. And you're like, what was I doing? But the more you become lucid and capable of controlling those environments, the more you begin to realize the truth that there is no death upon us leaving our physical bodies. And there are many accounts now of people explaining this. But until you've had the experience of an ego death, or an actual death or near-death experience, or actually, as Bashar says, are you having a near-life experience? Because that's interesting. Because Plato said that when we're born, we're baptized with death. We come from life, we incarnate into death, and we have to bring out and restore the soul back to its senses. And that's exactly what really is happening. And the occult priest class, the powers that shouldn't be, are well aware of this, and they understand that the chi, the life force, the prana, the spirit, is trying to move through all organisms in creation. It's trying to express itself through these beings, and if you can restrict that by maintaining consciousness on a low level, you can essentially control, manipulate beings that are quote-unquote lesser than themselves. And this is how we have been manipulated for thousands and thousands of years. But without getting too sidetracked, the point of this video is to try and explain to you that you will not die. There is no death. There is no such thing as no thing. Non-existence doesn't exist. It's a myth. There is only creation. There are no voids. Everything is an expression of awareness. Mind is not something that's local, it's non-local, it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere. You can't escape it. Awareness tries to escape itself into what we call matter, like this big rock here, which is just simply energy condensed to a slow vibration, just like our bodies, and it makes it more difficult for mind to penetrate what we call matter. But eventually this rock will cease to exist. Our bodies may cease to exist, but the soul, the consciousness, the mind that we are, continues to live on forever. But anyway, that's just a quick video about why you'll never die. I do hope you enjoyed it, and if you've got any questions, then drop them in the comments below, and we can continue to talk about all of these fascinating subjects. If you've had any lucid dreams out there, let me know those experiences as well, because they're absolutely fascinating. You can't really have a better experience than being able to experience anything that you want, and it comes with such a blissful state that it's almost inexplicable. And that's actually the problem, because you can often get too carried away in these lucid states, and it's your excitement that then pulls you out of that lucid state, and you wake up in your bed and you're like, damn it. And just when you're about to fly or do something a little bit more promiscuous, whatever. Anyway, it's enough from me, it's enough from this disgusting looking building. But remember, which bit of a building is a building? Which bit of that window is a window? It's just energy experiencing itself subjectively through a multitude of perspectives. And what we're looking at right now only looks that way through a human lens. If you take a bee or a wasp or a snake or a dog, it doesn't look like this, right? So the camera is just picking up what's correct to the human lens. But that's just subjective. So there's a billion ways to experience this creation, but there is only one creation. So yeah, we can talk about all this in the future. It's super interesting, and really I'm hoping to raise human consciousness, not only to resolve poverty and help us all to live our lives the way that we truly want to, and freely provide shelter, energy, food and water by way of crowdsourcing co-housing projects that freely provide those things. I'm also simply hoping to raise the Kundalini, raise the consciousness within you, so that you can also experience a death from a lower plane of existence and a rebirth into a higher state of awareness that's far more fulfilling and will give rise to a far better society in the process. So thanks